Welcome to my fourth video of the Matcha Brokerage Review series, where I talk about and review my experience with various online business brokerages. In this video, I'm going to go in depth in regards to what it's like working with Empire Flippers as a buyer. If you are a seller, then you can go to my previous video that talks about what it's like to work with Empire Flippers as a seller. This video is exclusively focused on the buyer's point of view. Hope you enjoy. Here's what we're covering today. Who exactly is Empire Flippers? What's the team like behind the brand? What is it like to go through the listings as a buyer? Looking at pricing and multiples as a buyer, what the migration process is like once you do buy a website, the pros and cons of working with Empire Flippers, and finally, my recommendation. Are they worth using? And if so, who should be using them? Before we begin, I just want to introduce myself quickly. My name is Colin Ma. I am the owner of matchabusinessllc.com, and I'm an entrepreneur in SEO of 7 years. I specialize in acquiring and selling digital assets. So Empire Flippers was founded in 2013 by CEO Joseph Magnotti and COO Justin Cook, their co-founders. Joseph and Justin actually originally started out as business partners building made-for AdSense websites, crappy little websites that you just throw ads on to make money. They started selling them and realized that one, they were better at selling websites than building them, and two, they were filling a much needed hole in the market. Today, they are one of the largest and fastest growing brokerages. They also run EF Capital, where they work with vetted operators and investors to buy sites off of their marketplace. They also run EF Capital, where they work with vetted operators and investors to buy sites off of their marketplace. Some would argue there's a conflict of interest, and this does actually matter to you, because you will be competing with more people and funds as there are more operators and investors on the market, potentially driving up the price and valuation of these businesses. So who's EF's competitors? I have listed them from most similar on the left to the least similar on the right, a number of brokerages and marketplaces. Even though marketplaces aren't brokerages, at the end of the day, you're going to go to both platforms to look to buy a business. This isn't perfect. This is just how I view similarities and differences between Empire Flippers and their competitors. Empire Flippers lists all available websites and digital businesses on a single URL in their marketplace. Now, they deal with all types of businesses, anywhere from SaaS to e-commerce to content to digital service, all types of digital businesses, like I mentioned. They can technically list SBA eligible businesses, but they don't offer any support in helping buyers secure an SBA loan, which is essentially a loan where you can get that has very favorable rates that lets you buy qualified businesses. Now, here are some listing statistics. You'll notice that Amazon FBA and content businesses are among the highest, and that's probably what they're well known for. Empire Flippers is most well known for their e-commerce and content listings. They do have other things such as Amazon KDP, Amazon Merch, some lead generation software as a service, and just general service. But where they really shine is with their e-commerce businesses and content. They also have the most available listings of the brokerages for online businesses at 162. FE International, for example, had just over 35 when I had filmed the video for them, which means Empire Flippers has about 4 times more listings than FEI. So like I said, there's more than 160 listings and they're clean and compact. If you've seen my FE International review or my review on other brokerages, you'll actually see that they don't present the data quite as neatly, and they provide a lot of extra information on this initial listing page that you don't really need. This lets you quickly sort through all the available listings. They also have a very robust filtering option where you can filter by status, whether it's available, pending, monetization, niche, platforms, certain price, if it has a trademark even, has a seller interview. So when you do click on a listing from the listings page, you'll go to business page. And here's what you'll kind of see above the fold, more or less. You'll notice that you'll see the listing price, profit, revenue, the pricing period, which is basically how many months is the monthly revenue and monthly profit calculated. And the multiple is always going to be this number times the monthly profit. So if you multiply these two together, you get this listing price. Now, there's other information included in the listing page beyond this. Some of that includes business summary, earning charts, traffic charts, opportunities, risks, which Empire Flippers provides, but honestly, they provide very generic risks, and that section is not helpful at all. The information that they provide that separates them from other brokers is their seller interview. Although they aren't the only one to do an audio of the seller interview, I know Quiet Light Brokerage does, there aren't that many that do. You get to hear the seller speak and answer questions, which is a lot better than just reading about them in a prospectus. Additionally, they show earnings and traffic similarly in a bar chart, and by default, it shows the last 12 months, but you can go to all time to see more data if it's available. So how do you get more information? If you notice, you actually can't see the URL just by clicking on the page. So you have to unlock the listing and you have to have an account and be signed in. It is relatively easy to sign in and create an account. However, to unlock a listing, you need to upload financial documents or connect your bank account. Then Empire Flippers will take a look at some of this information and say, okay, you can unlock businesses up to X amount, where that could be anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million to even higher than that, based off of your financial documents. So once you do unlock a business, you get access to the URL, P&L, you're added to GA, and you get a whole bunch of other documents. What's nice is that this process is actually fully automated. As soon as you unlock it, you get an automated email to your email on the account. Other brokerages and other marketplaces don't do this. FE International and Quiet Light Brokerage actually have someone manually send you that information, which means you can wait 1 to 2 days. While with Empire Flippers, it happens just like that. Once you unlock it, you actually do have the option of purchasing. You can buy it now, or you can start to negotiate an offer. To buy it now, you just send the full listing price, or you can lock it down for 10% down, though that's not refundable. I'm not sure what happens if you try to lock it down for the 10% down and someone else pays for it in full. I would assume that at that point that amount is refundable. So what happens if you get more information and you have additional questions? So you can talk to the primary point of contact by responding to the thread that they sent you about the listing. Then you can ask additional questions and you can ask to schedule a call with the seller, also facilitate the call and make sure that the right questions are being asked. At this point, as a buyer, you do not submit any negotiations or talk about pricing. You're going to do that separately and provide those offers in an email to your primary point of contact about the business, who will then in turn take the offer to the seller. Negotiations and offers. Like I mentioned, you submit negotiations to the main point of contact, who in turn give it to the seller. Now, if the seller accepts an offer that is less than the listing price, you don't actually get to buy the business right away. It's not yours quite yet. People who unlock the business before you can counteroffer. That counteroffer has to be 10% higher than your accepted offer for them to beat you out. Of course, you can counter their counteroffer, but that amount can never be higher than the listing price. Upon acceptance of an offer, a new migration thread is created. And if you don't have an APA or an asset purchase agreement, you by default use their agreement. EF is not an official escrow, but they're trustworthy. Other brokerages have their own escrow or use escrow.com to take that risk off of their plate. But again, instead of having to negotiate, you can also just instantly buy a site by sending in the full price via cash or cryptocurrency. Actually, not all cryptocurrency, just Bitcoin. Alternatively, if you don't want to negotiate, you can buy by sending the full price in either cash or in Bitcoin. Empire Flippers is the only brokerage that currently accepts Bitcoin as a payment method and distribution method for sellers as well. So what happens when an offer is accepted and you actually start the process of migration? You won out, there is no counter offer, whatever. First off, migration is kicked off via email by the migration team once funds hit. An independent asset purchase agreement or their terms of service can be used, and the seller starts to fill out the migration document. Empire Flippers then takes that document and holds your hand all the way through the process of transferring accounts, emails, questions you might have, and they even have video instructions on how to do certain things that you might not know how to do, even if it's not your first acquisition. But just so you know, I have heard a few horror stories about poorly handled migrations with sites around Ezoic. However, I do know with most content sites and Amazon affiliate sites, Empire Flippers has this process nailed down to the T. So how much is it going to cost you, and what are the listing prices? Well, Empire Flippers listing prices are among the highest, if not the highest, in the entire industry. My belief is that most go for under the listing price, but EF doesn't actually share that information publicly. The accepted offer is what you pay, no buyer fees, which isn't always the case. For example, FE International actually charges a small buyer's fee. So how do they make money? Well, they make money from the seller side. So you have to understand that. The more business sells for, the more EF gets, because they take a percentage of the sales price listed right here. I'm not going to go into the details here. I do on the seller's video, but basically the brokers are on the seller's side and not yours. They're going to try to sell the business for as much money as possible because it benefits them and the company. So keep that in mind as you negotiate and as you talk to the broker. Finally, summary and recommendation. We'll review the pros, the cons, and whether or not I actually recommend them. So what I like about Empire Flippers, they have arguably the largest buyers list, and that's continuously growing. They are also the only platform right now to take crypto. They're great for content sites and e-commerce sites, but have inventory for almost all online models. They also have 24-hour support, given that their team is distributed across the world. So if you have any questions as a buyer, someone will be able to get to you pretty quickly. They also have set processes with great instructions that even have video tutorials that really make the migration process really easy. Their seller interviews are extremely helpful as well, as you not only want to do due diligence on a business, but you also want to do due diligence on the seller when you are buying a business. Their automated systems allow you to get details from the listings quicker and easily because they're automated. They're not like other brokerages where someone has to actually manually send you an email for that, which is kind of ridiculous at this day and age. And finally, Empire Flippers has a consistent release schedule. They don't send you random emails about when a listing goes live. It's done every Monday morning with all the new listings going live for the week at that time. But they're not perfect. For example, you're one of a lot of buyers, which means you don't get a lot of individual attention. Additionally, Empire Flippers has the highest listing prices on the market. Now, you can always negotiate down, but price anchoring is a real thing. When once you see a price, you're kind of anchored to that subconsciously. And that in turn just brings up the valuation of businesses and what they close for. Their support specialists or migration team, they're not always the best, even though they have standardized SOPs, they aren't the most technical. And so you're usually dealing with someone who's pretty junior. Now, if there are problems, they will get escalated to more senior members. Just know that when you work initially with the migration process, you might run into some headaches. The other thing is that I personally experienced is aggressive follow-ups. There was a period of time, about a month, where they were calling me 2 to 3 times a week just to get my feedback on listings and also to better understand my buyer's criteria. Not sure why they had to call me so much. Ultimately, with all this in mind, do I think that buyers should be buying businesses from Empire Flippers? Absolutely. They're a trustworthy team that has done hundreds of deals, and they do work with integrity. Their business quality is also pretty good, as they do require some screenshots and videos to make sure that sellers are not trying to trick potential buyers or Empire Flippers for that matter. Now, their filtering isn't as good as, say, Quiet Light Brokerage, which perhaps has the best filtering in the business, but Empire Flippers is still pretty good. They are a good choice for new and experienced investors because their processes are so solid. Those instructions, checklists, and video tutorials really help you avoid headache and streamline the process. But I don't think they're great for everyone. If you are looking for an e-commerce business or content business, I would definitely go to Empire Flippers. However, if you're looking for a SaaS business, I would first look at FE International, which is kind of what they specialize in. For any unprofitable businesses, neither of these brokers, Empire Flippers or FEI, are ideal. And instead, you probably want to go to sites like MicroAcquire or Flippa. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. And if you have any comments or questions, you can drop them in the comments below, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at Colin L. Ma. Thanks for watching.